From Birdsall Park, welcome to the inaugural Cedar Falls Community Television's coverage of the Rich Engel Classic. I'm your host, Troy Becker, along with girls head cross-country coach Don Williams, and we're excited to be here for this cross-country meet at Cedar Falls Birdsall Park, and I think we'll get right into the action. This is the start at Birdsall Park, and in this particular race, we have about 100 varsity runners from 21 different schools represented. And they're going to come down to the first part, and the first turn that you're going to see is about 300 yards from the start, and the athletes will need to start positioning themselves as they come around these first flags. Coach, what do you kind of hope for when you're starting your girls?
Well, we like to see them get out fast to start, get out of the crowd, because it's easier to be up front than it is to try to fight out a pack that large. Cassidy Christopher does a great job in getting out at the start of a race. She's got a good surge at the beginning, and then our other 4 varsity girls tend to pace themselves off from our leader usually.
So from the people new to cross country, in the varsity race we have 7 athletes from each school. 5 of those 7 will end up being your scoring athletes. And here you can see them going around the far east part of Birdsall Park to come up to the first really up and down hill section of the course that they have to navigate. This part of the course is a little narrower, and it lets the athletes kind of thin themselves out, and they kind of establish their position at this point. Go ahead, Coach.
My girls, this was a new course for us, going with 5K this year, and they're doing this, what they consider to be a little bit tougher part of the course, more often than they have in the past. When we were running 4K, they only ran through this section 1 time, and now with the new 5K course, they're doing it 3 times. But they've really trained hard on these hills, and I think that's going to be an advantage for them today.
The athletes are getting ready to come around the second ball diamond here. As they go up this little hill, they'll come around the ball diamond, and then they'll actually reach the half-mile part of the course. How have you done so far this year, Coach?
Our girls, one of the things I like about it is they're not set in a specific order. We've had 3 different girls finish first for us in 3 different meets, which I think is a good thing because they're pushing each other. They try to maintain as low a spread as possible. Our first couple of meets, we've had less than 45-second spread between our first runner and our 5th runner, which is because of the fact we don't really have a single-digit type of athlete that will score for us at state. We need to have that 5th runner staying very close as we can to our first.
This is Brina Kraft of Muscatine, who is the leader in the race at this time, just going by the half-mile mark right at this time. You can see great turnout for the Rich Engel Classic, named after the former men's cross-country coach, Rich Engel, coached several years at Cedar Falls High School. Now they're coming around here in a moment, you'll see, and they actually get to a little bit of a downhill stretch where the athletes can kind of recover and heading towards that first mile. What 7 runners do you have in this race, Coach?
Well, we've got a really young group this year. We've got 3 in our top 5. We've got 3 sophomores and a junior, and they're young, inexperienced, but they're really working hard. Over the summer, we put a lot of miles in, which is basic, as you know, is critical for the success of our season. So I think our top 5 girls have worked hard and gotten into condition and shape, and should be able to maintain contact with each other throughout the race.
Notice we have a gator leading the athletes through the course. That's not necessarily so much so the athletes know where to go, because the athletes, when they show up to the course, they have a map that they look at, they walk the course, they're pretty familiar with where they need to go. But with the crowds that we have at these cross-country meets, the gator just kind of helps people know, here comes the runners, make sure you clear the path, and it's kind of parts the way for the runners. Every once in a while you have a runner who, because of nerves or whatever, isn't exactly sure where to go, but at Birdsall Park, It's very well marked. It's kind of hard to see on the camera, but they're following a white line that goes the entire way. It's a dash line that takes them through the course, and there's a few crossovers and areas that are different, but for the most part, they're going to run this loop 3 times for the 5K. They're coming around the pond right now, if you're familiar with Birdsall Park. Very scenic course. Actually, one of the best spectator courses in the state. If you're going to go watch a cross-country meet where you can stand and pretty much see most of the race. I see Cassidy's in second right there. How did you feel about the course where your athletes were positioned at this point, Coach?
Well, we were really pleased, especially with Cassidy pushing the pace up front. That's kind of we've had, like I said, several different leaders in our previous races. Allison Zerke, one of our juniors, she came in first for us on a previous race, and so has Anna Hertz. So Cassidy's, likes being up front. She's good at hills. She's good at pushing pace. I think at this point in the race we're looking pretty strong yet. Pretty positive about my girls. She's just getting there in under 6-minute mile pace at the mile. That's great for her. She's usually around 6:05 to 6:10. So she's got out a little faster than normal.
So you can see as they come around the course, the field's starting to spread out a little bit. You did see the mile marker there at 5:52 that Cassidy went by with a leader from Muscatine. Right here, it's kind of hard to tell, but they are going up what is probably the longest hill on the course. And it's a point, you get to the mile, and then all of a sudden you have this long hill. And it's important for your athletes to keep focus at that time. A lot of times, a lot of runners will reach that mile and mentally they'll relax a little bit. And what's really neat about this is an area where we can train all the time.
That's true. This hill, the girls know it very well. We run it a lot of practice. It's good for them to do this because they can search the downhill afterwards. They know the course very well. It's a huge advantage, I think, for having a home field advantage, not only just knowing the course, but it's great to have all the spectators out there, that a family and friends and classmates all come out and cheer them on. They have a drum line. It's really exciting for the girls to compete at home.
Now, we had rain here earlier today, about 1 inch, so the course is a little bit soft. It's pretty humid evening. So between the soft course from the rain and the humidity, times will probably be a little bit slower tonight. But, like you always say, it's the same for every team and every athlete there. But our athletes, a lot of times, because it's such a time, it's a timed event, they spend so much time thinking about personal records and how fast they're running. It's one of those coaching things. You have to remind them afterwards, hey, the course was a little bit slow. Don't be discouraged.
They get concerned when they see the times, when they're not as fast as they thought they should be or could be.
What's some of the top teams in this race for you?
Muscatine, lead runner right there. They're probably the best team here as far as the rankings anyway. They're ranked 3rd in the state. Ankeny Centennial is also ranked very well. They're expected to be one of the top teams. I think we're unranked at this point, but I know our girls are challenged and looking forward to improving.
Now you can see the leader is coming by where they had originally came down for the start on the first part of the course. There's some Cedar Falls runners coming by the fence. Whose runners did we have go by right there?
Madison Larson just passed us. She's, I think, running 3rd at this point. No, I take that back. She's 4th because there's Allie. No, that's Caroline. So we're in good shape yet because Caroline is our number. I think it was our number 6 girl, and she's hanging in there pretty close to the pack yet.
And we mentioned we're running 7 and scoring 5, and in cross country, it's a little bit like golf in the terms that you want a lower score.
Right.
Whatever place you come in, that's the points for your team. So obviously, if you had runners come in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, that would be considered a perfect score with a score of 15. In a meet with 21 schools, it's not unusual for the winning team to have around 60 to 75 points.
That's right.
It's pretty rare to be less than that.
It's important too. I try to impress on our 6th and 7th runner can also come in ahead of what they call them pushers. They can push the score up for an opponent. If we can get our 6th runner ahead of one of our opponent's number 5 runner, that puts another extra point on their score. So everybody can have an impact on the final results.
Talk about your summer training, Coach. I know that you with Steve McTaggart have ran the Hilltoppers program for years, and what has that been like, and what do you do with Hilltoppers, and how has that helped your program?
Well, like I said, we've been doing this for a long time. This was our 26th summer that we run a program for junior high, high school, girls and boys, to help them get in shape. It runs for 7 weeks, 3 times a week, 5:30 to 7 in the evening. It's a great program. We have kids from 15 to 20 different communities surrounding. Some people drive for an hour to bring a van load of kids to run with us in the summer. We do a lot of variety of work. We do long runs, we do tempo runs, we do speed work. We introduce a lot of different training systems, and it also helps them get into shape because they put quite a few miles in. Some of the girls will get up to 8, 9 miles on their long run, some of our older girls. And some of the boys will go up into the 12, 13 mile range on their long run.
It's been a vital part of the success in Northeast Iowa. I know there's athletes come from several different schools. As the men's cross country coach, I can tell you how much I've appreciated having that there to develop our young runners, and it's just been a tremendous thing that you have put together.
It's so critical for the kids. They don't realize that a lot of girls will still show up day one to practice and not having run at all, and how painful it is for them that first 2 weeks when they don't have the mileage in. So the girls that have been there before know how important it is, and they really are doing a lot better job. And plus, on our girls' side, we're doing something we started last year: 100 mile, 200 mile, 300 mile T-shirts for girls that log in their summer miles and check in with a coach during the summer. They can earn a T-shirt, which seems to be something motivating for them.
Now, you notice in that last picture there a few moments ago, Mr. Ramsey in the percussion section from the Cedar Falls High School band comes over, and they set up along the course and they play some motivational music, and I can tell you that the athletes just absolutely love that our percussion group comes over there, and
yes, they do,
and you know, and creates a little bit better atmosphere and more excitement. Here our lead runner is coming on to the 2 mile mark, right there. She's passing our 2 mile point in the race. She's about 12:30 at this point. You notice she went out in 5:58. Talk about the difference between that first mile and the second mile, Coach.
Well, I think that the first mile is kind of tough. It has that. Well, it's actually, the hill is part way up the first mile, or the first mile mark is part way up the first steep hill. We have, I was just noticing as the girls go by, our number 1 runner has dropped off quite a bit. Cassidy Christopher's kind of faded back quite a bit. Maybe that 5:58 first mile was a little bit too much for her. Hopefully she'll pick it back up and catch back up with the front of the pack, but I just noticed she's kind of out of the picture right now.
Yeah, and I know with the guys' team, and I'm sure you do it as well, we take our mile splits. A lot of times what I look for is if they come through a mile and then in the second mile they lose more than 20 seconds off their pace, that tells me they went out too fast. And we talk with the athlete, hey, you know what, we love your aggressiveness, but if you can't maintain your pace within 20 seconds, then you need to go out a little bit slower.
That's true. I think she got just a little bit caught up in the excitement of the race. Again, she's a junior. She's got experience, but just being in the lead of race, kind of sometimes your adrenaline takes over and just get out a little bit beyond what your capability is at this point in the season. But I think hopefully she's got the conditioning to fight back. Here goes Anna Bert's by now. She should be either second or third, I believe, for the girls.
And as they go around the pond on this second time, you notice that they take a shorter loop to help us account for the 5K distance. so therefore they don't do that hill the second time, which I'm sure some athletes are pretty happy about. I like to tell my guys, anytime there's a hill, it's a chance for us to be mentally stronger than everybody else. So we embrace the hills, and a lot of cross country, as you know, Coach, is the mental aspect of it, and getting your athletes through training to believe in themselves and know whatever the conditions, whatever the situation is, that they're ready to perform.
That's so true. Confidence means a lot to our athletes. If they're running well and they're confident in their ability to maintain that position, they will. But once they start losing that self-confidence, they tend to fall off pretty rapidly.
So right about now, the leader has went by the fence. She's actually going to be coming up to the 2.5 mile mark. Here comes the Cedar Falls pack. Why don't you talk about them, Coach?
Okay, Allison Zerke, Paige Qualley, Madison Larson have all passed Cassidy, who is our front runner. But I believe if Cassidy has listened to the coaching, she's not going to let them go. She should hang on to that pack, hopefully. And again, that's our strength, is that we got 4 or 5 girls that can run really close to each other. If they can keep it together, I think we're still going to do pretty well.
And you know, when you hear pack running in cross country, and you know, one of the strengths of that obviously is you train together, you do all the work together. If you're having a bad day and the guy you train with all the time is having a great day, he can pull the pack. And then the next race, it might be you that takes care of that. There goes 3 of the Cedar Falls girls. Cassie's trying to hang on to that group. I have a lot of confidence that she will. And there you can see the leader coming up, and she's coming around the 3rd time on this ball diamond, so now she'll be working her way towards the finish.
That's right. This is a tough part of the race for them because they've got that steep climb yet coming around the ball diamonds and then up the hill towards the fence line. Before they get to the flat, then they have a good downhill finish. But this is a tough spot for them right here. They're still probably about half, 3/4 of a mile out from the finish line. And I'm sure the fatigue's setting in. And some of the girls are struggling a little mentally at this point. There's our 7th runner, Monica Wessels.
Boy, if you haven't did distance running before, it's hard to understand the mental toughness it takes to run these courses and exert yourself at a maximum level. You're running in and out of oxygen debt. You're competing as hard as you can, and you have to sit and basically push yourself. You know, in these girls, case of these girls, you know, they're running between 18 and 25 minutes. Well, actually, 19 and 25 minutes. Right. And to stay mentally tough, even the leader, you can see that she's pushing herself, she's challenging herself. Obviously has a great training base, a lot of ability.
But it's all uphill right here.
It's still a mental challenge.
That's right. It is. It's tough. And as I mentioned earlier, we're at 5K this year for the first time, so there's a lot of girls out there that are questioning my sanity and convincing them that 5K was a good thing for our team.
And last year, and so the viewers would know, last year the race for the girls was 4K, 2.5 miles. And if you're new to the metric system, a 5K is actually 3.1 miles. And the boys have ran the 5K for years, and the girls were at 2 miles and then went to 4K for several years, and now they've made the switch to 5K. So kind of nice from the course setup standpoint is that we only have to set up for the one course.
That's true.
Which is a nice thing.
Helps us a lot. We're out there at 9 o'clock in the morning on meet day, getting things done. We got a lot of great volunteers. Runners Club locally sends people to us.
And you know, speaking of those volunteers, you know, Nolan Morris leads a group of volunteers from the Cedar Rivers Runners Club that comes out. We have old parents that come out. And we could not put on this event without the support that we have from our parents and from that Runners Club and from those volunteers. It's, as you can see, it's a huge event. And here comes our finish. We have a great kick going on here. It looks like between the Muscatine girl and Kennedy girl, Hannah Fusselman. And it looks to me like, yeah, the Muscatine girl, Kraft, held off Fusselman from Cedar Rapids Kennedy for 2nd place. And here comes our third and fourth place finishers. Third was Cole from Charles City. Fourth looked like it was Gorman from Cedar Rapids, Washington. And
right, they should, hopefully we'll see a Tiger uniform coming around that corner pretty soon.
We have pretty hot conditions here for this course. We had rain earlier. You know, the wind isn't affecting the athletes too much today because it did die down a little bit, between 5 and 15 miles per hour. But the humidity is extremely high, and that can weigh on athletes if they don't have proper nutrition and stuff for the humidity. There's the first Cedar Falls finisher, came in at 13th.
Yeah. Yeah, the cloud cover helped a lot. If the sun was out, it would be a lot warmer, I think, for them. So that helped us a bit. And the breeze up here on top of the hill is always pretty good too.
So runners are coming down into a chute. We have organizers getting them through. There's our first Cedar Falls, and Cassie Christopher did come back, and she came in 21st there, followed by Paige Cavalli. And it looks like, if I saw that correctly, Madison Larson was 24th, and then Allison Zerk was 25th. So, Coach, you had 4 runners right there within 5 spots. That's
excellent. That's what we were looking for. I think their spread should be under 45 seconds again, which is what we've been trying to shoot for. I think that is extremely helpful for us to have those girls know that they need to be together when they get to the finish line.
And one thing unique at the Rich Engel Classic we do, you see Jane Strike there handing the runners tags. They're going to actually go to an instant scoreboard, and then workers will put the score up on the tag, and spectators, athletes, coaches, they can all go over to that instant scoreboard and get an idea of where it was. There's another Cedar Falls runner coming in.
Anna Hertz, that was Caroline Ross.
Caroline Ross was coming in.
Monica Wessels, our last runner.
And it looks like Caroline Ross was 51st, followed by Monica was in 61st place. And as you can see, the athletes are now coming around after a very competitive, great race. And looking at that instant scoreboard and the results, it looks like Ankeny Centennial actually beat Muscatine.
It's kind of an upset.
Yeah, well, you know, we talked about the Muscatine runner having the first runner, but Ankeny Centennial actually had the 5th, the 9th, the 12th, the 19th, and the 31st runner. And when you talk about the spread, that's the difference between your first runner and your 5th runner. Their spread was only a minute and 4 seconds for Ankeny Centennial. Muscatine did have the winner overall in the race, but their 5th runner was actually 35th. That was behind Ankeny Centennial's 5th runner at 31st. Their spread was a minute 51, a bigger spread, and I guess that shows people at home what we all know about cross country is you're only good as your 5th runner, and that spread is very important, and you can have a really good runner up front, but if you don't have the team, then you're in trouble. And finally, Cedar Falls ended up 3rd. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
105 points at 13th place, 21st, 22nd, 24th, and 25th. So we can take a quick commercial break here, and we'll be back in a moment to look at the men's varsity race at the Rich Engel Classic.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
Welcome back to the Rich Engel Classic at Birdsall Park. I'm head men's cross country coach Troy Becker, along with head women's coach Don Williams. And we now have the opportunity to watch the men's 5K race at Birdsall Park. Let's go right into that action. There's the first 5 flags, and that's kind of the first turning point for the athletes as they come out of the start. In a moment, you'll see the group of athletes in the men's race run 7, score 5, 20 schools represented. We actually had 100 athletes in this race line up initially for the start.
How do you feel, or does your boys feel about our course compared to a lot of the others we compete on? They consider it to be more challenging?
It tends to be a little slower than some of the courses we're on because there's a lot of ups and downs and turns, but it's by far the best spectator course, and our guys just love it from the standpoint that they're at home and they have a chance to run in front of their friends and family, although our parents travel extremely well, as you know.
They do.
It's unbelievable. But it's a great spectator course, one of the best in the state, as we mentioned during the girls' race. Here's the start of the race. As you can see, the Cedar Falls is in the all red. They had the big black CF right on their chest. Unlike your team, Coach, I'm very fortunate and blessed to have a lot of experienced runners in this race. Our top 5 guys have all been in cross country for some time. In fact, our top 7 have all been in cross country. We are currently running 5 seniors and 2 juniors in the race, which is a good advantage for experience-wise. As they come around this first corner and come down that first little hill section, what you're going to notice is we have a group of athletes this year currently ranked number 2 in the state, where we look to be at the front of the group because we have that type of talent. And Sam Schillinger will turn the corner here in the lead. He's along with Isaac Smith. Sam is a junior, Isaac Smith is a junior. Those 2 train together all the time, have had a great year. And then our other 3 runners really are interchangeable actually so far this year. You know, Jake Hartman is right there currently running in the 5th spot, 3rd for the Cedar Falls, and Ethan Smith is right next to him. And then you'll see Andrew Nurse is our 5th runner in this picture, who's actually in about 7th or 8th spot right now. So to have 5 runners immediately up in the top 10 is a tremendous advantage, and
right.
It's something we feel really good about.
I understand you have a large team out this year too, one of your biggest, I've heard.
Yeah, it's actually the biggest team we've had. We currently have 63 athletes on the squad. Very good squad in terms of team chemistry and how they work together and how they get along, and the leadership from this senior class has just been absolutely tremendous. And we hope that leadership will carry on and create the culture that we want, as you know, going down to keep that good work ethic. It's easy for our younger runners right now to see the rewards for hard work, because the guys who work the hardest are those varsity guys and earned it, and they go out and they see them have success, and then hopefully they realize down the road that that's what they need to do.
What's your major competition here, do you think?
Well, you know, Dubuque Senior is the next best ranked team in this field. We just finished a meet, as you know, over at Marshalltown, where we ran against 4 of the top 5 teams in the state and finished 2nd to Dowling by only 3 points. In this particular field, honestly, I'm thinking that we should be able to win the team title based on what we're at coming in and how our guys have been running. But a lot of times, as you know, as we go through the season, it's about getting better.
Right.
And with this course being a little bit slower here today, you know, I don't expect great times, but I expect them to compete. And right now, obviously, you see 4 Tigers right there in that group. 1st and 2nd, Sam Schillinger and Isaac Smith. And then there's 3 runners from other schools represented there. And then Jake Hartman and Ethan Smith are right there. So right there's 4 Tigers in the top 7. And I know, because he's so dependable, Andrew Nurse is going to come right around the corner here in a moment. If you look in the background, he's going to be in that top 10 area as well. There's a runner from Ankeny Centennial who's actually moving out into the lead. That's Camden Cox. He's actually rated in the top 5 in the state, so he's a legitimate runner, very talented. But you know, our guys will be expecting to compete with him all the way through. I'd be surprised if at any point they let him get away from him.
We experienced quite a bit of rain out here last night and this morning as we're setting the course up. How do you think that is affecting them, being the last race of the of the day.
Well,
It's getting a little muddy out
right,
there.
the course is a little bit muddier. It's definitely soft from the 1 inch of rain we have. So again, I expect when the times are done, we'll see a little bit slower course than we're used to, probably about 30 seconds slower. People who do road races all the time need to keep in mind that running on grass a lot of times is slower than running on pavement for these 5K races that they do. And with this particular course, as you mentioned, we have more turns and ups and downs, and anytime you're turning and stopping and going, it makes a little bit of a difference. So they just went by the mile there, and they went through in about 4:55, which is about where I would expect those gentlemen to be. As the leaders come down that far hill, again, there's Isaac and Sam. Boy, what a blessing it is to have two runners that can work together like those guys do. And then our next three also work together. And anytime you can have runners kind of feed off of each other and they do it in practice and then also are able to do it in a meet, it just makes for a better situation to help each other out. You can see the field is starting to thin out a little bit behind the leaders.
One thing too I've noticed, the crowd is huge. I think that helps our athletes a lot. They've got a lot of people that know them in the crowd that are cheering for them as they run by. I think that, again, is part of that home field advantage, not only knowing the course and knowing what lies ahead, but also having all the spectators there.
And speaking of the crowd, they're just now coming back into the area where most of the fans are. They were over on the far side, the south side of the course. That's Sam Schillinger on your right. Isaac Smith is on your left.
Sam is a junior, right?
And Sam is a junior, is one of the best runners in the state. Here comes Ethan Smith, who's a senior. Jake Hartman is right with them. They're both seniors. And I trust if things are going right there, there's Andrew Nurse. He's our number 5 runner. Very dependable top 5 that we have this year. And that, of course, that's one of the reasons we're ranked as one of the top teams in the state. Looks to me like Sam is starting to, push the pace here a little bit. Isaac's going to decide if he's going to go with him or not. But I can just tell that Sam's feeling really good right here, and he's going to be able to do what he wants to do.
He looks pretty relaxed.
And you can see those two are starting to pull away from the number 3 runner from Ankeny Centennial there. And a lot of times, we talk to the runners about you get through the mile in position, be where you're supposed to be, and then in that second mile, see where you're at. And if you feel good, go with it a little bit, and that's what those runners are doing. And they're just talented enough that they'll put the hurt on people who try to go with them. You better have some real talent if you're going to stay with them.
They're often said there's not a lot of changing in position goes on in the second mile of the race. You should be out where you want to be at the mile mark because not a lot of passing happens after that.
And if you are getting past, then you've gone out too fast. And as coaches, we work with them on that. Coach Jeff Hartman, who I work with as an assistant coach, actually a co-head coach, the way I look at it. He does a tremendous job of taking splits, and every day or every week he sits down with our athletes and he looks at the difference between the first mile and the second mile. And if there's a big gap there and they fall off too much, he talks about how to get out and who to get out with. The other advantage with having 63 guys is we can pair them up and say, hey, run with this person the first mile and see where you're at. They have just gone by about a mile and a half. They're going to be coming around this ball diamond here for the second time. As you can see, Sam is pushing the pace here a little bit. The field will naturally thin back a little bit. In an ideal situation for us, we're hoping with Sam's talent, if we can have our 5th runner be within that 1 minute spread, then we're going to be very, very competitive at the end of the meet.
For those that are fairly new to the sport, they follow a painted white line on our particular course. They're allowed to go off at no more than 3 feet on either side. Some courses have an alley where they have 2 white lines they have to stay between, but because of all the turns and everything on our course, we maintain a single white line.
Now you just saw Josh Tim come by. He's a junior for us. He's running as our 6th runner right now. There goes Ben Hertz around the corner. One thing I notice about Ben is he's a senior. He's a great finisher. He will feed off of Josh a little bit. I'd be very surprised if by the end of the race he isn't right up with Josh and then they'll be pushing each other for the last half mile, helping each other finish to you know, be pushers and so forth. Our top 5 are pretty defined this year because we're so blessed with such great talent and people work so hard. But it's also important for those 6 and 7 guys, in fact, all the guys on the team, to continue to get better and continue to improve, because you never know what's going to happen. You always need to be there for the team.
That's right. Number 6 runner is often critical because you never know what someone's going to have a bad day, and it's nice to have someone that's within range that can step up and help out when needed.
Now you can see Sam's pulled away from Isaac right here. You know, just to show you, it could be a day-to-day thing. You know, Isaac actually beat Sam at the Marshalltown meet. So again, we're fortunate to have talent up front like that. Today, Sam, it looks like he's feeling great. He's going to pull away a little bit. You can't see Isaac in the picture right now, but he's only back about probably 30 or 40 yards. And then they have, as you can see, a really big gap all the way back to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th runners. And now they're coming around, they're past the 2nd mile. Now's when you start to think about that gap. And we want to make sure that the gap between our runners 1 through 5 isn't too big. And when we get into a state meet, right here, these runners are kind of running by themselves, but at state, every second's a point. And because you have all the best runners there. So it's very important that you continue to work on that gap and being competitive as a team.
You mentioned you were ranked 2nd at this point in the season. Who's ahead of you, and when do you compete against them again?
Well, actually, we were rated number 1 at Marshalltown, and we lost at Dowling by 3 points. And so I imagine that they're rated number 1 now. But Ethan Smith on that day was coming off a fever. Ethan Smith has been a very dependable 3-4 runner for us. And he didn't have as great a day as he probably could have had on that day. So we would like, there goes Jake Hartman around the corner. We'd like to think that if on a given day we're healthy, that we can compete and beat anybody. But you know, that's how it is. Sometimes we've learned over time it's as important to be lucky in terms of your health as it is anything. Here comes Sam around. He's been past. He's coming up on the 2.5 mile mark. It's about 300 feet from that, followed by Isaac Smith, who's our very tremendous 2nd runner so far this year. Also note Isaac Smith, just an incredibly talented musician, plays all kinds of different instruments, has been all-state several times in music for our school, and very proud. There comes Ethan Smith, who he's just actually had been sick for a week, and now he's coming back and feeling good. There's Jake Hartman. And now, as you can see, here comes Andrew Nurse. He's already moved up. And right now, it looks like we have 5 Tigers running in the top 6, which in a meet of this size is actually pretty extraordinary, and again, shows the kind of work ethic those guys have put in over the summer.
It's nice to have someone that closes fast at the end of a race. It really helps you out.
And that usually comes from base, as you know, Coach. The people who get in the last mile and can close are the people that put in the time over the summer in their base. Here comes Josh Tim for us, our very talented junior who's going to be extremely important to our program. And as you can see, Ben Hertz is closing that gap. He's our senior. He's our number 7 runner right now. And as I mentioned, I'd be very surprised if in this last half mile, if he doesn't end up pushing up next to Josh.
It's a nice, strong brother-sister combo. Anna, his younger sister, is a sophomore, one of our leading runners.
Yeah. This is Sam Schillinger, our very talented, one of the top runners in the state, obviously. He's now past 2.5 miles, and he's coming around. At this point in the course, we're asking our athletes, you're in that last half mile, you should be building towards the finish, depending on how you're feeling. It looks like Sam is building. He's got this one last little tricky hill to go up here, and then you actually turn and it becomes a long, gradual hill before you come into the finish, and there I am yelling at him like crazy.
Yeah, this is mental toughness. This is where your mind has to kick in, and your body's about ready to give out. But this is where, if you're tough enough mentally, you can hang on for a good, strong finish.
And what I've really enjoyed about the Cedar Falls Tigers this year, the guys that I'm coaching, is they're so competitive, and they've worked so hard, and I'm happy to see them being rewarded for the effort that they put in.
Right.
I mean, they get up and they lift weights with us at 6:30 on Tuesday mornings, and they have all the long runs that they put in, and the effort they put in during the summer and during the track season for most of them. And in a sport like this, you are not successful just by hoping that you're going to be good.
Right.
It takes a tremendous amount of work. Even the top runners who have talent like a Sam Schillinger, you don't get to be that good unless you put in an incredible amount of work. There's a lot of people out there that have talent who aren't willing to work at it. And I really appreciate our guys and how hard they work.
True. Well, you got to be proud of them. You got a great group of athletes.
And they're as good of people as they are athletes,
Right.
and that's one reason I am so proud of them. Sam will be coming down here towards the finish here. I imagine we're coming up on that. Look, there's the far side here of this picture. You can see is the downhill on the other side of the tents, and all the people and the runners continue to come around. And here comes Sam in towards the finish. It looks to me like he's got a chance to break 16 minutes, which on a slow course is tremendous time. As there it is, 15:57. I tell you, on a slow course with the rain, to run 15:57 just shows what kind of athlete he is. And I hope Isaac will be coming in here in a moment. Here comes Isaac down our finishing kick, and again, he's established that second position. So the Tigers are going to put the first two runners in the race across the line, which again, with a 20-team field, that's a tremendous honor. I imagine Ethan Smith's going to be coming. Okay, Ethan Smith is battling with the Dubuque senior person here. Boy, they're coming down the line hard. Look at the competitiveness on those two guys. Don't sure which one would finish it ahead of who, but here comes Andrew Nurse with a very strong kick towards the finish. That's a great job for Andrew, and it looks like Andrew was in sixth place. Here comes Jake Hartman down. He's going to be our number 5 scorer today. In 8th place. So Cedar Falls here is going to put 5 runners in the top 8, which is just going to be a tremendous, very good score for a meet of this size. And again, a credit to how hard those guys have worked. And the other thing is, as you know, Don, your runners are going to exchange spots every once in a while. Jake Hartman will be anywhere from our 3rd to our 5th runner. Here comes Ben Hertz, and as advertised, he's right there with Josh Tim. Looks like Ben was able to just get ahead of Josh a little bit. That comes with that senior kick and that little bit more senior strength.
17:30, that's a good time for a 6th runner.
Oh, it's an incredible time. And then there's Josh Tim, who's coming in as our 7th runner. And it looked like Josh was right around 17:36. And he was 28th, and Ben Hertz was 23rd. So all 7 Tiger runners have crossed the line. And if we take a look at the finished team scores, based on how they've done at this point and using the quick scoreboard here, Cedar Falls was first, obviously, with the 5 runners in the top 8 with a score of 21, which is that's the lowest team score I can ever remember at a Rich Engel Classic. And again, looking at that spread is what we want to look at. The difference between our number 1 runner and our number 5 runner was 1 minute 3 seconds, which is right at that minute, which is what we're hoping to have.
Good.
So in 2nd place was Dubuque Senior. They had 60 points. So Cedar Falls first with 21. Dubuque Senior was 2nd with 60. Cedar Rapids, Washington ended up being 3rd with 146. Ankeny Centennial was 4th with 153. And then West Waterloo was 5th at 162. And Waterloo West has a very good young talented team with several sophomores running. They're going to be a force coming up here the next couple years.
We run against them in about 2 weeks.
So they have a good program. There's 20 teams scored in the meet, and several local teams were of interest that may have been there. Waverly Shell Rock finished 19th. Charles City was 17th. Dike New Hartford was 14th. Some of the local schools from right around the area. Of course, we mentioned Waterloo West was 5th. And of course, Cedar Falls won the race. Led by the top finisher today was Sam Schillinger, who finished 1st overall. 2nd was Isaac Smith. Ethan Smith ended up 4th, just barely getting edged out with a time of 16:35. And Andrew Nurse was our fourth runner with a time of 16:45, finishing 6th overall. And then finally, Jake Hartman had 16:59. All 5 runners under 17 on the course with a spread of 103. So a great meet for the Tigers, and excited to see what we can go ahead and do the rest of the season. Moving forward here, Coach, we know we've got a couple weeks, and during the next couple weeks, it only gets harder.
That's right.
We will train the guys really hard the next couple weeks, because this is the time of the season where you really want to focus on getting better, going into the conference championship meets in the districts and the state.
That's right.
And
we appreciate the opportunity to have this event televised for the first time.
Yeah, so
we love our sport and get really excited about it, and we hope some of you that watched it today have too.
Yep, so thank you to Cedar Falls Television for that, and thanks to all of our parents for their tremendous support throughout the year, and our athletes for their hard work, and let's go Tigers.